Hello, everyone, and welcome to Diversity Through Cuisine. My name is Kavita Sao. Today, I will be cooking with Vanessa Stein from Counseling and Psychological Services and Adam, is it Burchard, Adam? Burchard from Hillel. I will have them introduce themselves to you, and I will also have them tell us a little bit about the dish that they are helping me to prepare today. With me, I also have our production assistant student from ODI. This is Azon. He's my sous chef because my other sous chef went to school. Vanessa, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your dish?
Sure. I'm Vanessa Stein. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I've worked at CAPS at UCF for about 8 years. I strongly identify as Jewish, and I'm conservative Jewish, which means kind of in the middle of the ball. It's not, don't think about it like political spectrum. It means sort of not super religious, but also not reform. I grew up practicing, actually live in the house that I grew up in, right around the corner from the Jewish Community Center in Orlando. And I'm going to be making a kugel dish today. Kugel is traditionally like a casserole dish. A lot of Jews who are Ashkenazi or Middle European, Eastern European make noodle dishes and just kind of pile it all in, and whatever they have left over or whatever they need to use up. You can also make potato kugels too, which are similar to like eggs and potatoes mixed together. There's two different kinds of kugels, really sweet and savory. And we're going to make a savory one today that's more like a mac and cheese. But the traditional kugels are sweeter, and they have cinnamon, raisins, but it's the same base. It's eggs mixed with cottage cheese, sour cream, and wide egg noodles. So that's what we're going to be cooking.
Thank you, Vanessa. Adam.
Sure, yeah. So my name is Adam Burchard. I'm the Director of Jewish Student Life at Central Florida Hillel, which is the Jewish Life Center on campus. I've been working at the Hillel since 2018, and we do lots of programming and have leadership opportunities for students. No matter what their religion is, we're really about building leadership opportunities, traveling around the world, and kind of having fantastic experiences. So we have lots of free programming every school year. We have free meals throughout the week. Our building's always open Monday through Friday. It's located in Northview. And hopefully, I guess this fall will be a lot better. So come on down and enjoy yourself. So yeah, I'm going to be making barekas, which are a Sephardic Jewish dish. So Ashkenazi and Sephardi are two types of Jews after they left for the diaspora. Ashkenazi Jews are European. Sephardi Jews are, Spanish, Middle Eastern, and so forth. Sepharad is actually Hebrew for Spain. It refers to basically the Iberian Peninsula. And this dish, barekas, is basically a puff pastry or a phyllo dough, some sort of pastry with something inside of it. So this dish actually originated from Spain. It's similar to like empanadas. Also Ottoman Empire dishes as well had something similar as well. But the thing is, they had meat and dairy in this thing. But in kosher diet, which is the Jewish dietary law, you can't have meat and dairy together. So when the Jews made this and brought it to Israel and around the world, they only took dairy or potato or things like that. They took the meat out of the dish. And one kind of fun fact is that in Israel, to make sure people are aware of what is kosher, what's dairy and what's not, the different kinds of fillings are mandated to be folded in a different shape. So if they're dairy, they have to be made into a triangle. And if they're not dairy, they have to be made into a square. And there's more to that as well, but it's kind of like a cool fun fact that it's an actual law to make that in Israel. So we'll be making the triangle version because I'm going to be using cheese.
All right, Vanessa, I will have you kick us off.
Okay, so I did a couple of things in advance since we're making two dishes today. So I just wanted to explain. I already have my oven preheated to 375. I put a large pot to boil, which you can see over there, and I parboiled the noodles for about 5 minutes. So those are the wide egg noodles that you see in this bowl. And what we're going to do is we're going to mix the bases together. I also shredded some cheese up. And so in the cheese bowl, we have 1 pound of sharp cheddar cheese, 8 ounces of Gruyere, and 8 ounces of fresh mozzarella all mixed together. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take what would go in a blender, and I'm just going to whisk it together. And that's going to be cottage cheese, sour cream, the spices, rosemary, thyme, nutmeg, some salt, and eggs. And we're going to blend that up. We're going to mix that in with the noodles and 2/3 of the cheese. So I'm going to get started with the eggs first.
Okay.
And I'm just going to whisk those up. Quick whisk.
All right. If you guys have any questions for us, please feel free to put it in the Q&A, and hopefully Adam or Vanessa can help answer it.
And so, and then I'm going to add the 2 teaspoons of salt, which I've got right here, to the eggs. Make sure that those go in. Kind of working backwards on the list, adding our spices, nutmeg, and then the thyme and the rosemary. And this will flavor it again, more savory. So traditionally, if it was sweet, it'd be like cinnamon, cardamom, some other kinds of spices that are pretty typical of the Middle East.
Okay.
Okay, and then after we get this one, we're going to add 2 cups of full-fat cottage cheese, as well as 1 cup of sour cream. So that's what's going in next. Woo. And this kind of builds our base of the casserole. And the reason we picked dairy food to do today is because we just celebrated the Jewish holiday of Shavuot. And it's traditional to eat dairy, kind of what Adam was talking about before with the laws of keeping kosher. Because it's a harvest holiday and a sacrifice holiday, most people eat 2 meals. They eat a dairy meal first, and then they wait and they eat a meat meal later. And the holiday actually celebrates the giving of the 10 Commandments and the Torah, and the laws of keeping kosher are all in that. So that's kind of why we celebrate. And so we thought it would be fun to make some dairy-based dishes. So sorry for all of you that may be out there who are lactose intolerant or are vegan. You can definitely find some vegan options for cheeses. Okay, so we got all that mixed together.
What do you have in your bowl, Vanessa? I just want to make sure I'm following you. What do you have in your bowl?
Cheese, sour cream, rosemary, thyme, nutmeg, salt, and eggs are all in here. Okay. And then we're going to add this egg mixture to the noodles. Mix that all up. And then we're going to add 2/3 of the cheese. So we're going to combine some things together here.
Yeah, please. This sous chef is working out better than my other one. This one put some elbow grease in. The other one never used
over
to.
Where you can see. We set this over here. And so then I'm just going to fold this mixture.
All right, you said 2/3 of the cheese, right?
And then incorporate about 2/3 of the cheese. Let me scoot it over a little bit. And we'll save 1/3 of the cheese for the crumb on top, which we're going to mix with the panko. So let's add some cheese. Kind of saving a little bit for the top.
Yeah, that's good.
Quite a lot of cheese.
Yeah, looks good.
That is a lot of cheese.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So just incorporate it the best that you can. Like I said, it's a casserole. It doesn't have to look pretty. It's just going to go in the oven and get all crispy on the edges.
Let's not lose our noodles.
This, we're going to pour it into our baking dish. It says 9 by 13. I just have a casserole over here that I'm going to put it in.
I'm going to grab the dish.
Yep. Make sure none of it gets out.
Thanks.
And then we're going to build the base, the topping, which is the crumb.
Okay.
That's pretty nice.
So you're going to take the rest of the cheese and you're going to add the panko to it. So I'm taking the crumb, here's my cheese, the rest of what's left, and adding the panko right into it. And this is going to be what we sprinkle on top. So just give it a good mix.
The cottage cheese to the panko as well, right? Not just
the cottage cheese goes in the big mixture with the eggs and the sour cream and the spices. It's okay if you didn't add it originally, you can add it now. Just mix it all up with those noodles. And then we're going to spread this cheese and this crumb on top. And then we're just going to sprinkle a little bit of olive oil on top of it. And then we're going to put it in the oven. And it's going to cook for like 35 minutes. And we're going to let Adam make some barakas.
Ready for the cheese topping?
Go ahead.
So, let's get that.
Yeah.
Now let me put this over here so you can see. So much cheese. It's going to come out like a mac and
So
cheese
much
dish,
cheese.
basically. Pack it all in there.
Like a whole.
And the nice thing about these noodles is that you can make them however you want. Like if you want a spinach and artichoke, you could add that in there. If you want other fruits, you can add, pears, apples instead of raisins, anything like that. So a little bit of olive oil on top.
Yeah.
All right. And just sprinkle some olive oil on top, you said?
Yeah. A couple of teaspoons, nothing crazy. And then it's going to go in the oven. It's ready to go.
All right, in the oven it goes.
Yep, 375 for about 30, 35 minutes.
So Adam, we should have asked this. What is the temperature that yours bakes at?
350.
Okay.
They're the same. What was that one?
His is 350.
Hers is
375.
Okay.
So we might take yours out just a couple minutes early to make sure it doesn't burn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you need to, it's probably not the end of the world. Just cook it for a little bit less time.
Okay.
I think we might need to microwave them.
Oh, all right. See what it says here. All right, Adam, take us away.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, great. So we're going to start with basically all of our bases. So we have feta cheese here, we have ricotta cheese, we have an egg, we'll have some pepper. There's also kashkaval cheese, which is an optional one. Not everyone has it. It's a little bit harder to find, so I have just double the amount of ricotta. So the recipe that I'm using calls for 1/3 cup or 1/2 cup feta, 1/3 cup of the kashkaval, but you can add another 1/3 cup of the feta and then 1/3 cup of the ricotta. Then you're going to do a whole egg and just some ground pepper. You're going to just mix that all up. You can add a little bit of salt if you want to, but the cheese is already pretty salty, so that's not necessary whatsoever.
Okay. Vanessa, there was a question in the Q&A for you. Did you butter your dish before you put the casserole in?
Yeah, I did spray a little bit of like nonstick spray in it. So anything like that. But it's good because it gets crispy on the edges. It's okay if it gets stuck a little bit. Yeah.
And then Adam, we are going to need a baking tray for this, I take it?
Yeah. You're going to want the tray and put some parchment paper on top.
All right. You grab a baking tray.
So once you get all the ingredients, you just mix that together, and that's your entire base. And then once we get this all together, we're gonna move on to the dough. What's easy about making this kind of stuff is that you, like the kugel, you can really put anything you want inside. It all tastes good. It's like similar to what like you make spanakopita or any sort of puff pastry interior. They all taste fantastic. So this is what my inside looks like.
Okay. My inside is definitely a work in progress.
Once that's done, we're going to start with the puff pastry. My puff pastry kind of stuck together a little bit, so I'm going to re-roll it out. So just flour the surface a little bit, and you're just going to want to make it not too thin, but I guess the thickness that it came in is like this. We want to make that maybe a little bit thinner, and then we're going to cut them into like squares.
All right. So it was, go with me on the cheese, the feta.
Yes.
I did not find that other cheese, so I'm going with an extra 1/3 cup of feta.
An extra 1/3 cup of feta, correct. That's what I did as well.
1/3 of the ricotta.
Yes. And then one egg, and then just like a few pinches of pepper. And then again, you can add salt if you would like to, but not necessary, especially with the extra feta, which is a very salty cheese.
Okay, sounds good.
Make sure to flour your surface lightly if you're rolling it out, just because you don't want it to stick. I made that mistake last time.
Okay.
Should I go heat this other one up, thaw it out? Yeah, I'm gonna, I'll thaw this out.
fun tip I like to do is flouring the rolling pin.
Okay.
Oops. I'm gonna move this back a little bit. The fun part about these two, there's not necessarily an exact size. You can make them as big as you want, as small as you want. You can make, I guess one of these can probably make between 9 and 12 squares.
Okay.
But it's really kind of up to you exactly how you want them to look.
Let me swallow this. All right, so how thin am I rolling it out, Adam?
Here, for visualization like that.
Okay. Bacon is my favorite. I will make it different.
And if it's not a perfect square, it's totally fine. You just want to kind of make it a square. You'll kind of just discard, either discard the outside, or you can kind of flatten them out to make an extra one.
Okay. And then what do you use to cut it once you?
You can really use anything, a pizza cutter, a knife,
Okay.
anything will honestly work. I actually forgot to get one out, so I'm going to go grab one.
Make sure it's on my.
Yeah, I'll fix that. You want to grab that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say
You were
probably.
saying, so we're using puff pastry for this one, but you were saying you could also use phyllo dough?
Yeah, phyllo is a good option. You really can use any kind of like pastry, but phyllo dough is I guess the next go-to, if you will, because it's a very similar dish. Puff pastry is just going to be a little bit less. It's flaky but more buttery, doughy versus the thin layers.
And you can find both of them in the freezer, really readily available.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
Yeah, I got my dough at Publix in the freezer section.
Yeah.
So now I need to make the same size. Adam's cutting his sides to make it fancy.
If you want to make it square, make it a lot easier.
Or make it square, not fancy. All right. Are they about the same size?
Okay. So what's going to happen next once you have them all laid out? What you're going to do, I'll do a demonstration with one of them.
How big are my?
It can be any size you really want. 9 to 12 in a sheet.
They're not all the same size. Some of mine are a little bit like wonkier. Some of them are this size. Some are this size. Like it really does not matter. It's all going to come out the same. And that's the best part too.
My pieces. Let's just say, I hope it doesn't matter.
It really does not matter. That's the fun part. It all cooked the same. But what you're going to do once you finish is you're going to place a dollop of the cheese in the middle and you're going to fold it in half, but you're not going to crimp it. I've heard lots of people who crimp the edges. What that does though is it doesn't allow the puff pastry to really rise and make it as fluffy as possible. So that's like a fun technique. But what you're going to do is you're going to put it in the middle, fold it, and then turn it over. And then you can put it on the tray.
Get rid of this then.
Yeah.
So you can turn it just sideways, just like this. And you don't need to crimp the edges at all. And just put it on your tray when you're done. So we'll do that for all of them, and then we're gonna do an egg wash on top once we do all of them.
Hold it.
Triangle. It's a triangle, right, Adam?
Yes. Yes. Right.
I
So
remembered something.
yeah, the triangles are the dairy ones, and the potato ones are always square.
All right.
And also, it does not matter how close you put them on the baking sheet; they will not mold. And if they do kind of mesh together, it's fun to pull them apart.
Okay.
But do not worry. I made these 2 days ago, and I put like
I overfilled.
30 on one sheet, and it was totally fine.
It just started raining at my house. I have a skylight in the kitchen. So sorry for any background noise.
We can't hear anything, but that's pretty cool.
Good. We have about 20, 25 minutes left on the kugel. So it's in there cooking away.
Like I said, as a reminder, one thing you want to do is after you put it in and you fold it, flip it over before you put it on the tray. So you folded it this way, and then instead of putting it on the tray this way, you're going to put it that way.
Okay. So you're not folding it all the way over. Let's make it square. Square. Let me show you.
Yeah,
how this
show me
is
how you
done.
do, because I don't know how you're doing it.
And then he said, fold it over.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So it goes like there. And
Hmm.
so the trick is definitely to get this in squares and not rectangles.
As best as possible, again, right? The shape at the end of the day doesn't really matter. These are just what traditionally how they're made. But yes, obviously if you're putting it into a square, it'll be easier to make into a triangle.
Do you want to do this and let me do that? Or are you good?
I think I'm good. I mean, they're just kind of rectangular.
So what would be a sweet option of, or is there a sweet option is my guess, my question.
For Barecas,
Yeah.
Barecas are generally not sweet,
Savory?
but I mean, you
Okay.
could totally put like chocolate in them as like a dessert option. One other,
Or like cinnamon and sugar on top.
not as common, but you totally can. One option that is not Barecas, but it's also a traditional food that we make on Shavuot are called Blintzes, which are like Jewish crepes. So you basically take like a crepe and you roll it up with cheese inside, but you add like vanilla and sugar to the cheese. And those are really good with like a cherry or like a sweet sauce on top. Very
So
good.
what kind of cheese would you be using if you're going to add?
So like farmer's cheese is the main cheese you would use for Blintzes.
Yeah. People also add like, any other kind of crumbly soft cheese.
Yep.
And Blintzes are really good. I thought about making them, but they're a little bit more intricate because you fold them up kind of like burritos.
Right.
Tuck in the ends a little bit so the filling doesn't come out. And traditionally people eat them with like strawberry jelly. Actually, they're also a food we sometimes eat on Hanukkah. Again, anything fried, that's that holiday, right? So there's fried potatoes and people make the Blintzes the same way. So lots of dairy.
Yep. Yeah, Blintzes are fantastic, but they go really well with eating with Barecas. Because Barecas are usually more savory, Blintzes are more sweet.
So, Adam, are there any big events that Hillel hosts that are open to just everyone on campus? Or
Every
big
single
events for
event.
students to know
Every
about?
single event we do. We don't discriminate. Anyone's allowed to come to any program, whether it's a religious program or not. Most of our programs are not, put it this way, even if it's a religious program, quote unquote, there's not inherent religion a part of it. So Friday night is what is called Shabbat dinner. Shabbat is the Jewish Sabbath. We do like 2 prayers in the beginning of the meal, and then everyone just eats and hangs out and eats free food. So anyone's allowed to come to any single meal. Every single Wednesday, we have a program called Hump Day Nash. Hump Day because Wednesday, middle of the week. Nash is Yiddish for like eating and snacking. So we have free food on Wednesdays around 6:30. We'll probably start that up again in summer B. But anything from tacos to burgers to mac and cheese, like fun, easy finger food. And then we have events all the time just randomly that aren't necessarily planned yet. And really cool ways to get involved and go on trips, whether to Israel or to Europe or to Washington, D.C. for political things, to all over the place. So we have lots of opportunities for people who aren't Jewish as well.
That's cool.
Yeah. And Hillel, the whole year during the pandemic, they put all their programming outside in a tent in the parking lot. So they kept going, even with mask mandates and even with, closing the inside of the building. So they've been serving students the whole time. It's really a home away from home for our Jewish students on campus. It's so important and so needed.
We were really proud of being able to do that the entirety of COVID, having this outdoor programming, and no one got COVID from any of our programs at all, while having things in person. Well, when we heard someone that came to an event possibly was, contacted by someone who had it, we shut down for a week just to be safe. So no one got it from us at all, which we're really, really proud about.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, I am almost done with this. Once you finish, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take egg and a little bit of water. So just the egg yolk and a little bit of water. So separate that, and then you're gonna do a little bit of brush on top of the burekas, and then you can sprinkle with a topping. Usually poppy or sesame seeds are really good if you have, but that's not necessary. That's like a fun little addition, and then they would be ready for the oven for half an hour.
Okay. We'll grab me some water.
Yeah.
Okay. Of course, if you have a brush, a lot easier. I'm just using my finger for this.
All right, I'm gonna brush them.
But if you do have any leftover because it didn't fit, totally there's like put chocolate inside and heat that up a little bit later as a fun snack.
Sounds like fun. So are these made for any specific holiday, or does it matter? You make...
Yeah, I mean, they are traditional, specifically the cheese ones on Shavuot, like we talked about before, but these really were made to eat anytime in Israel. It's street food, so you'll just find it anywhere for, really cheap and just eat it while you're walking. It's one of the main foods people eat there, because a lot of Jews, when they left and were persecuted from around the world, when they went there, it became one of the national foods. So delicious. They make every single kind imaginable. And yeah, so you can eat it on holidays, but a lot of times Jewish holidays, when we talk about traditional foods, these traditional foods are eaten every single holiday. And they have a reason, whether it's because it's fried, it's dairy, it's meat, it's something, it can be eaten really on all of them. But because these specifically are dairy, Shavuot is a holiday of dairy. And one, I guess, additional note about eating dairy on Shavuot, in the Torah, Israel is called the land of milk and honey. So that's another reason why it's traditional to eat dairy specifically in this holiday, because of that phrase. And there is a, this is a little bit like deeper, I guess. There's a thing in Hebrew called gematria, which is basically how every letter has a number coordination, and then you can add up these numbers to create meaning, I guess, if you will. So this saying goes that the Hebrew letters, or the Hebrew word for milk, I'm blanking on the name right now. Halal, right, thank you. Equates to 40, which is the amount of days Moses was on top getting the 10 Commandments. So there's like this connection of like, we eat dairy because it's a really cool thing. It's basically Jewish mysticism, and they find reasons for everything. Kind of really cool, I guess, side note, but yeah, that's another reason people eat dairy.
You can think about it kind of like a code, right? So if every letter, if A equals 1 and B equals 2 and C equals 3, it's the same for all the Hebrew letters. And if you add up all of the letters, the numbers mean something. So there's 613 commandments in the Torah, right? And if you add up that number, you can add up the word meets the word in Hebrew 4, 6, 13 connects. So it's like there's all these kind of not hidden messages, but people make something out of what they see and make meaning out of
it. Okay, I'm going to put mine in the oven now.
Okay.
And like I said, that's going to go for half an hour. If yours is a little bit hotter, I would check it maybe after 20 minutes just to see how it goes, but it's going to get a nice golden brown color on top, and they're going to puff up.
All right. Vanessa, we have about 10 minutes left on.
Yeah, 10, 12 minutes, and we'll be good to go.
All right, sounds good. Does anyone have any questions? No? Wow, you all are a quiet crowd today. Does anyone make any dishes that's similar? All right, so I guess let's talk about some more Jewish foods. Okay. What else can you teach me to make?
Well, I mean, we just had prior to Shavuot, so we count something called counting the Omer, which between Passover and Shavuot is exactly 7 weeks. And so you use the wheat when you grow, it's a harvest holiday, Shavuot, right? So you use the wheat to count the 7 weeks between Passover and Shavuot. So think about, for some Christian religions, there's the difference between, right, like Mardi Gras and the start of Lent, all the way in Easter. It's a similar kind of counting. So if you back up the 7 weeks, we could talk about food that we make at Passover, which has its own set of dietary restrictions because people don't eat leavened bread on Passover, right? So not only do you have the kosher pieces of not mixing the meat and the dairy, you also then for the week of Passover have to eat bread that isn't risen, right? That it hasn't been leavened. So traditionally, obviously, that's matzah. But people are a bit creative, right? Because you get tired of eating a box of matzah, and people start adding things. So matzah brie is a traditional food that sometimes people eat on Passover, and it's matzah mixed with eggs, kind of like French toast style. And so that also can be sweet or savory, depending on if you like. So you can put syrup on it, or you can put cinnamon, sugar, or you can make it more with like cheese and salsa and kind of have it more savory. So that's one that popped in my head. There's a lot of traditional food for Passover too.
Yeah, one thing, this is not necessarily exactly traditional Jewish, but it's a variation that's a vegetarian version. So chopped liver is a very well-known Jewish food. It's literally a chicken liver or beef liver that's mashed up into like a dip and a spread. A lot of people think that's disgusting. I personally like it, but a lot of people, it's an acquired taste. So there's a vegetarian version that I make a lot and people love it. It's you roast or you hard boil 3 eggs. You get like a 15-ounce thing of mushrooms and you saute them, 2 medium-sized, onions, and you toasted walnuts, and then you just blend that together in a food processor, and it makes this like meaty flavor, but it's all just vegetables and eggs and nuts, and it's really, really good, really tasty. I just made it the other day, but I make that all the time. So that's like a vegetarian variation of a really traditional Jewish food.
That's so interesting because I make my vegetarian chopped liver with French cut green beans instead of the mushrooms. But it's like the same. It's the onions and the nuts, and it's all rendered. So the other thing is when you make when you keep kosher, you can't use butter as a fat, right? If you're eating meat. So that's where the traditional chicken schmaltz comes in. Schmaltz is the renderings from chicken fat, right? So think about use that as a base instead of oil. So obviously, if you're making chopped liver vegetarian, you can be using the schmaltz. So the taste has to come from the nuts and the vegetables to kind of blend together.
Yeah, really good. And then I guess one other thing I would mention too is like a fun, I guess more of a Middle Eastern Jewish dish is called sabir. So sabir is similar to, I guess, shawarma or falafel and pita. The difference is that in the inside, it's hard-boiled egg and grilled eggplant. Really, really good. The origination of this dish comes from Iraq. The Jews of Iraq would make hard-boiled eggs and eggplant for Shabbat morning. So you're not allowed to cook on Shabbat. It's a tradition and a rule basically not to do any work on the Jewish Sabbath. So they would have the food slow cooking from Friday before sundown, and then they would eat it Saturday morning. And then when these Jews ended up leaving Iraq, they had to leave 60 or so years ago. When they were persecuted, they had to leave, and many went to Israel. And then because in this area, it was very common to eat things with pita, they ended up putting this food in the pita pocket, and that became a really traditional food as well.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite dishes.
So Liz she said, that sounds awesome. What is the name of it again? I think it was before when you were talking about the chopped liver, because that came through a little bit.
Liver?
The vegetarian version.
Oh, it is just chopped liver?
Yeah, just
if you it's usually beef or chicken liver.
Yeah, if you want to make the dish this exact recipe, I think the chef is Tori Avery. If you look it up, she has a lot of. This is actually the same chef that the recipe that I took from this dish.
She has a great challah recipe that I use that includes honey in the dough. And then my recipe came from Jake Cohen, who is like in his late 20s. He's famous on Instagram. Just made a new cookbook out. It's called Jewish. Here, I'll show it in the camera. It's Jewish because it's not all kosher recipes. So he does mix meat and milk in the recipes sometimes, and it's more like a modern take on traditional food. So that's why we have the kugel kind of mac and cheese style versus a kugel that's more traditional or sweet.
And you mentioned before a second ago challah. Challah is a very traditional Jewish food. It's eaten every Friday night and Saturday for the Jewish Sabbath. It's basically this braided bread that's really sweet because there's sugar and honey in it. It makes amazing French toast. It's, I think, personally the best kind of bread to dip in soup because it's like so thick that you can soup up everything. And it's great for just dips as well. So whenever I have Shabbat dinner, I'll make lots of dips, whether it's hummus or baba ganoush and different Middle Eastern Mediterranean dips, and put that on challah. It's fantastic. And it's really fun to make because it's so versatile and can be used for so many things, and can also be used for sandwiches as well.
So I have a request for, can we get the recipes for some of the Jewish dishes you have mentioned?
Sure.
Yeah, we could totally, should we like make a list afterwards and like send?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to make a list and send it to me, I'll send it to everyone.
Would be happy to.
We can, like we said, the Tori Avery website, there's some chefs who are known for their Jewish cooking, and we can definitely give you some options of some places to explore farther.
Sherry said, I make the sweet kugel with pineapples.
Oh.
I've had that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Jack said, this is very exciting because I can see the Jewish influence on a lot of Pennsylvania Dutch dishes. so we can see
Yeah,
them.
my family actually, they came over like before World War II. So like after World War I, kind of in between, and then like 1920s, 1930s. And they all ended up in Pennsylvania and were dairy farmers. And so it's been 6 generations now, but there's a lot of connection between, Jewish dairy farmers and obviously our Pennsylvania Dutch and our Amish, those cultures. And so I can see why that would make sense that the food blends together.
Do you think we should take a look at our kugel now?
Kugel? Yeah.
I feel like
Let's see how it's looking.
mine is kind of golden.
Oh, mine looks so good.
Oh my goodness.
Here, let me get out one more.
I don't think you can see it.
I guess that looks fantastic.
It's gonna turn on.
Oh yeah. I'll show it to you. I might put it back in for 5 more minutes so it's a little bit brown on the top.
Okay. Yeah, my sides are brown, but my top isn't.
Yeah, so maybe another 3 or 4 minutes. You could also put it on broil for like 2. I know you have other stuff in the oven, but I might broil the top of it for just about 2 or 3 minutes.
Maybe flip them around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. That looks really good. I can't wait to taste it. This is my favorite part of doing the show, just so you know. Getting to taste everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I even share.
Sometimes.
Oh, this will be dinner. My kids will eat the kugel mac and cheese when they get home tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, we're having this.
I promised Susan in our office, she's Jewish, that I'd give her some of mine. So
Yeah.
And then I gotta give my helper here.
It's fun
And
to
my
try
other
different
helper.
places. It's fun
And
to
then I
try.
have to save some for my son because he's not here.
It's fun to
He'll
try
be
different
sad.
places and have a variety of ideas of where things come from and the connection that, as everyone has kind of been saying too, how like certain things taste so similar from other places because one person will make this and then the spice trail and then they'll change it into what they have there. Like an interesting story on that note, Wiener Schnitzel is really common in Germany.
Right.
And when Jews came from Germany to Israel, beef was not readily accessible, so they ended up making chicken schnitzel. And that's a very popular dish in Israel, but not anywhere else in the world, usually with beef or veal. So that's kind of like an interesting tidbit that a lot of times dishes came from countries of origin, but then changed when they came to somewhere else. We're like, oh wow, we have this new readily available kind of food. How can we change what we already know how to make into what we can do now? Yeah.
And with so many vegans now, people are definitely changing recipes to kind of fit what their
100%
needs are.
Yeah.
So you could make a vegan chicken schnitzel. You would just use, meat that's, chicken with the K, right? And you can bread it and then fry it, and it's delicious. And oftentimes people eat that alongside like a plate of like Israeli salad with like cucumbers and tomato, or stuff it inside a pita even and put French fries on top of it. I mean, you can see the mix of all the different types of food.
100%. Yeah.
I just want to tell y'all the smell in my kitchen is incredible because I have 2 things baking at the moment.
And you can also eat them together. So, it balances out.
Yeah, 2 minutes under the broiler helped a lot. So now we got really nice brown, crispy crust.
That looks amazing.
So. See how it comes out.
Because the last thing we need is for that to remain in there. Vanessa, you put yours for 2 minutes under the broiler?
Yeah, I just put it for 2 minutes and looks like half of it got good. I might stick the other half in, but I didn't want to smoke up the kitchen. So yeah, looks good. Get a
Izon's
little,
like, wow, that looks so good. I'm like, Izon, you're gonna try it in a second.
yeah, I'll have to get out a little
Let's get a plate.
scoop of corner out and try it.
And you said they look better on
On this part?
Look at all that cheese.
that plate. We have this discussion in my house a lot. So we have this discussion in my house a lot. Do you eat mac and cheese with a spoon or with a fork?
Fork.
I eat it with a fork, but my 8-year-old eats it with a spoon.
See,
I'll eat rice with a spoon.
yeah, I grew up eating rice with a spoon.
See, here we go. Cheesy goodness.
Yummy.
Yum.
That's good.
I think for mac and cheese, it depends on if it's like creamy or cheesy. If it's cheesy and pull apart, it's a fork. But if it's like almost like soupy, then you need.
Mm. That's really good. You can taste the spices in it.
We're gonna put it. Ooh. No, on top of this.
No, I know. Here, you want to show it? How pretty it looks. Can you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
The sides are really golden brown.
It looks good.
All right, now is the moment of truth.
Mm. Yeah, that looks great.
We need to taste it. Azon gets to be our taste tester today. I did.
Awesome.
That was one of my deals when I got him to come over to help me.
You never know that you get yummy, delicious food for helping film. Yeah.
Normally,
Wow.
Sanjay is my taste tester, but
Oh my.
Mm.
I'm gonna give it a second.
I feel like I need to show it up like there.
Yeah. See, it's like almost like a lasagna, kind of.
Yeah.
It is like baked mac and cheese, and
Yep.
you should want this.
Yes.
But
I'm gonna put it up to this one.
Mm.
It's just a little laggy. That's it. All right, let's try it out.
all right,
Oh, that smells so good.
it was a combined effort.
Yeah.
So,
Look at this. You don't want to play?
well, I'm gonna have. It's really hot, so
Yeah.
don't burn yourself.
Mm. Now you can really taste the thyme, the rosemary, and the cardamom, or
Mm-hmm. Nutmeg?
the nutmeg. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it balances out the cheese a lot. Yeah, those.
Delicious.
Yeah, that's really good. I feel like this is something you can't really like.
Go wrong with
Yeah.
all the cheeses it has in it.
Also, I feel like you can eat a lot, and it's just like, where did it go? Mm.
My has about maybe 5 minutes left on it. Adam, how's yours looking? Ooh, I got some tape.
Mine does need a little bit longer because of my temperatures are lower, but this oven's also old, so it's the temperature sometimes wonky. So I might need a little bit longer, unfortunately. But they are good so far.
Vanessa, Jocelyn said she's looking forward to the next CAPS potluck.
Man, I missed our potlucks. I'm gonna get back into the office here and have some good food.
I feel like I need, as an honorary member of CAPS,
You can get an invite.
I need
We'll
an
invite you back.
invitation.
+1.
Azon's like, and she needs a +1.
It's been a while, but yeah.
We probably need to do an international food something at ODI.
Yeah. I mean, I
Like-
know that they've done it in the student union in the past, right?
Yeah,
Has that been-
the students put that on. It's a combined effort
yeah,
with.
MSC. I see that in the chat. I went the last time we had it. It was really good.
That was a couple of years ago, though. It's been,
Yeah.
yeah.
2 or 3 years now, I think.
Jeez.
Yeah. Well, if we want to do it in conjunction, we would love to, do it. The staff can cook too.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like they're right on.
How are they looking?
They look
Amazing.
nice and golden.
Amazing, amazing.
Let me see if I can, if that's. Do you think the color on that is okay?
Yeah, it looks good to me.
I'm glad they popped up because they did
Yeah.
not.
They poof up. That's the thing. When you don't crimp them, they pop up like that.
Yeah.
They popped up beautifully.
Yum.
All right, I'm finding the smallest one. Bring your plate over, let me put. Here, I'll give you the biggest one.
Yeah.
But I'm putting my small one on your plate. There we go. I have some leftover dough. I think I will make something
Chocolate
sweet
ones.
with it.
Do it, yeah. Just roll it out and just put some chocolate into it, and you're good to go.
And then you can, oh, that's like almost like a rugula, which is another
That is-
traditional Jewish food.
That is
So if
true.
you roll it up like a log and slice it like sushi, then you'll have
Oh.
like rugula style.
I should give you one of those that is on turned into like a weird.
You can also put Nutella in it too, if you like
Nutella,
that.
yeah, that's true.
I believe I have Nutella.
Oh, is it?
Oh, I didn't tell you guys how it was. I'm just eating.
You're just eating, yeah, you know.
It's really good.
Amazing.
It is really good. I love this part of doing this job.
Yep.
It is incredible.
What's the next or culture I guess you're doing next after this one?
I have the Dominican Republic next month.
Cool.
I have a friend who used to be a UCF student and a UCF employee. She's now in Massachusetts, but she's going to cook with me. I'm really excited about that. And then I need to figure out a way to continue it because we will be in person again.
Right.
Who has an office that has a kitchen as part of it that you could cook?
President Cartwright, if you're listening, we'd really like to use your kitchen
At the house. That would be a good
Burnett
idea.
Mm-hmm. I think they have two kitchens.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe even figuring out a way to work with Rosen on this. This has been
Rosen.
People love to
have been
cook.
really special.
It's awesome.
There's just something about food that brings people together.
Of course.
Mhm.
All of your troubles go out the door. Even when you think about, I will be honest, going into this, I'm not a huge cheese fan. I do not like cheese. If anybody knows me, cheese is not my thing. And when I saw all of the cheeses, I was like, oh, how am I going to get through this? But like just putting your biases out the door and just embracing it. I am gonna sit down with a plate and you can just keep eating. Like I have this and I keep wanting to put it in my mouth.
They're dangerous.
But I'm trying to be, trying to be nice, not show off that I'm eating. It is incredible. Thank you both for doing this with me
Yeah,
today.
for sure.
I really, truly appreciate it. If I figure out a way to continue it, we will make something else. Don't forget to send me those recipes so that we can share it with everyone.
Yes, for sure.
Next month, guys, keep an eye out for our Dominican Republic. And if I can get anyone else in the meantime, I will throw one on the schedule if I can from now until like mid-June when we go back in person. The plan is to get as many on the schedule as I can. I really enjoy doing this. So thank you both. I
course.
appreciate it. Adam,
Thank you for having us.
here. So thank you for taking the time. Thank you all for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.
Fantastic.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Perfect. Nice.